Hey, it's Christina with Christy Fit 31, and today we're going to be talking about when you should start to change your macros or change your workouts. So I know I've talked about macros, I know I've talked about plateauing, but how do you know when you should be switching things up? It may be time to adjust your macros if you've stalled and have hit a plateau. Macros are going to be different for each individual, so as coaches or as personal trainers, when we're giving advice on macros, it's different for every person. If you did the same exact workout and ate the same exact things as me, you're not going to see the same results. Everyone's body is different. So I generally recommend the TDEE calculator, which I've shared in previous videos, to track or to figure out how many calories you should be eating in a day for maintenance, cutting, or bulking. I like everyone to start out at a moderate amount of carbs, unless it's for a medical reason. And then you can adjust your carbs and fats therein, keep your proteins the same. If you're seeing changes by the scale, the way your clothes are fitting, or you're losing inches or gaining muscle, you most likely don't need to change anything. Your body is changing, it's adapting, it's doing things, so you don't need to change. Progress is progress, and if you're moving forward, stay where you're at. Increasing your deficit or cardio to increase calories burned daily can help. How much of a deficit should you be in though? 500 is normally the max amount I will put someone on, or I would recommend. If you've been in a deficit for a really long time, it might be time to reverse diet out of it, up your calories, and build some muscle. So just up it 100 or 200. That way your body stops adapting, you'll build a little bit more muscle, and then you can go into a cut again. So a lot of times what people are doing is they're cutting, bulking, and cutting. So what you're doing is you're increasing calories to gain muscle, and then you're cutting calories at a slow rate to keep that muscle, lose the fat to show the muscle underneath. Like I've said before, each person and case is different. It's trial and error and small tweaks over 4, 6, 8, and sometimes 12-week spans. That's why tracking is so important, and making sure all things are put in. So drinks that have calories, dressings, barbecue sauce, the things that you regret eating, that you're like, I really shouldn't have eaten that, so I just don't want to put it in because I feel guilty. Put it in and adjust your macros for that day as needed. The small licks and nibbles add up all day long. If you grab a handful of grapes or a handful of cashews and you don't track it, that could be quite a bit of calories if you do that on a weekly basis. Training should have the goal of progressive overload by increasing your weight, your reps, to grow. I typed something and I don't know what it is. What are the key differences in a calorie deficit versus a calorie surplus or bulking? That's a question I get asked a lot too. In a surplus, your macros are higher, so more than the calories you are burning, with little to no cardio and progressive overload and weight training. So progressive overload is something you want for everyone. You're not going to see changes if you're not challenging yourself. Those last 2 to 3 reps should be pretty close to failure and should be pretty fatiguing. The goal is to maintain a well-balanced diet, eating more food without gaining unwanted weight and building muscle to later cut and rebuild. So that's going to be your surplus. Whereas a caloric deficit means you're burning more calories than you consume. So you're eating less than what you're burning. This includes intense training, moderate cardio, and the goal is to decrease body fat to reveal the muscle of the toned body from that training. As far as switching up your training routine, it's recommended to switch around every 6 to 10 weeks. That could be different for every person. Personally, I always keep compound movements in any of my splits for any clients. So a squat, a deadlift, and a bench. I love compound movements because they're working more than one muscle. So that is always in any of my training plans, as those involve more than one muscle group. And I switch up the isometric, one muscle worked, or your accessory work. So that's going to be things like your bicep curl, your tricep, things that are just one muscle being worked, one muscle group. If you're still seeing change, there's no need to change because you're increasing your weight each week. That's progressive overload. So some people will stay on the same workout plan, just increasing weight, so they're still changing it, but still doing the same workout split. If you enjoy your program and you're lifting more with progressive overload, or you're seeing your reps increase, so each week you're getting more reps, so instead of hitting 6, you're hitting 8 to 10 at a certain weight, you're having progressive overload and are gaining more muscle. If you notice that one thing isn't where, if you're noticing one thing isn't where you want it to be, your triceps, etc., you might want to increase to doing it 2 times a week instead of 1. Or that might be time to switch up your split, have it rewritten. That way you have triceps more throughout the week so that you can see growth in that area. This is why trainers write programs and help you achieve your goals, helping build confidence and adjusting as needed. Even for me personally, my plan switches out. I'll normally do a plan for about 12 weeks is what I generally like to do. You're not going to see change in the first 2 weeks. It takes about 3-4 weeks to start seeing changes. And then if I'm going, oh, my shoulders aren't where I want them, or my triceps aren't where I want them, that's when I'll up it and I'll change my plan after about 12 weeks. So it's really important to have your programming well and your food well. So those are just some different ways that you might need to change your workout, your macros, things like that. I always recommend having a plan because you're not going to see changes if you're doing different workouts every day that you go to the gym. So if you're following random Instagram workouts, random things, you're not going to see change because you're not consistently doing the same exercises and same things. I will switch out some of my exercises that are accessory work. So some days I might do kickbacks, some days I might do single leg hip thrust. So it depends on the day, or donkey kicks. So it just kind of depends on how much time I have for me personally and my clients as well. Sometimes our training goes a little bit longer, sometimes it goes a little bit less, and we can adjust our training as needed. But our compound moves stay the same. So I do type out all my workout plans for my clients, whether online or in person, and we go from there. So I hope this information was helpful on whether you should be switching out your plan, on whether you should be adjusting your macros. Like I said, I have a macronutrients video on macros and calories. I have one on just a bunch of stuff for chatty videos. I know I didn't get one last week. Last week was insane. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you soon.